on stage our next conversationalist, but before that, we're going to watch a short film by Seun Fasogbon titled The Cost of Noise. Ladies and gentlemen, a short film.
As a Nigerian, this is all too familiar. Power has always been a luxury, quite the ever-elusive luxury. It all began with noise, didn't it? A generator that roared and struggled trying to power our hopes, our dreams, and our business. Our generator, it was the only lifeline we had at the time, because our electricity supply was never stable and we couldn't always wait for it if we actually wanted to remain a going concern. Sometimes it took a whole day before we got power supply. And other times it took 2, 3, and even 6 days. Not because there was anything wrong with the power grid, absolutely not. But because this was our own version of normal. My mother and I started the print shop together as a wholesome mother-son partnership back in 2015. I was still studying law in a university 3 states away at the time, and so I needed someone that was going to manage the business in my absence. I remember passionately traveling across 3 states every other week because honestly, being an entrepreneur gave me so much joy. The burnout didn't matter at all. All that mattered was that I excelled at both. I thought I did. I thought I was making it work. Incredible grades and a thriving business. I was wrong. When we tried to balance the books, it was clear. We had been burning up our future to light up our present. And the aura of that realization, it was very jarring. Over 80% of our revenue went straight into petrol, repairs, and ultimately noise. We weren't running a business anymore. We were fueling a battle we're quickly losing. This conversation, it wasn't an easy one to have. We needed to stop failing, and at the time, the only option seemed to be close the print shop and breathe. My mom and I have been partners in the print shop for over 5 years, and ending things now, it all felt like I was losing a part of myself. I gave up. I focused on getting my law degree and decided that entrepreneurship wasn't for me. But then the pandemic happened and the whole world stopped. There was no school anymore, there was nothing. Just quiet and repeated routines. But then maybe there wasn't entirely nothing. There was design. Slowly, I got back into the rhythm of work and started creating again. Because for the first time in my life, I had the freedom and time to do so without any distractions. And soon, it started to seem like I could actually do it again. Afresh, differently, and on a new slate. And so I saved every naira that I could, sacrificing short-term comfort for long-term survival. Because this time around, knowing the mistakes we had made in the past, the promise was clear. If I endured, we possibly could thrive, provided that we did stop the noise. We didn't choose sustainability because it was noble, far from it. We chose it to save our business. From one panel to two to four to six, each step was a quiet rebellion against noise, against waste, and against the idea that we needed to keep struggling. Today, we're not just saving our planet, we're saving our vision, our hustle, and our future. From noise to light, we found our path. Now, every panel overhead is a soft protest against the chaos and noise we once knew.
Well done, Seun. That was a beautiful. One more round of applause for Team Tactical. And now, on today's panel, we have Sarah Boulos, an entrepreneur and philanthropist who founded the Society for the Performing Arts in Nigeria. Also on our panel is Angela Hencher, the Chief Operating Officer of Charterhouse Lagos. Joining Angela on stage is John Todd, the founding head and director of education at Charterhouse Lagos, Kevin Conroy, the founder of Bature Brewery here in Lagos. Seun Fasogbon is the founder and creative director of Tactica Zone, a design and code agency. Welcome, Sarah.
Welcome, everyone. If you haven't met me before, I'm Dr. Amma, the one and only provocateur. And remember, this is interactive. You're not here to listen to us. There's no incredible wisdom that the five of us, some of us together, our average age is over 150 years. Actually, more than that. So there's nothing we're going to impact. If anything, we're hoping that the impact comes from the conversations that we have collectively today, and that everyone walks away with some sort of a commitment for themselves or for their organization. So we just watched a film created by the Quiet Architect, and it talked about power. For those of you who were here from the very beginning, what hit a note for you? The one thing that hit a note. John, did you want to say something about the film and what hit a note and how it ties into our first conversation?
I guess for me, it's the frustration.
Frustration, yep.
That stuff that should be so simple. And you know, we've just built a school where you have to have water, you have to have electric, you have to have a sewage system. Just to do a simple thing here is not simple. There's just obstacles everywhere. I know now going home it's going to be horrible because now our lucky expressway is falling to pieces again. So it seems wherever we turn, there are things that are there to stop you. And the other side of it is it always amazes me that Nigerians are so happy, maybe delirious. But people are so happy, people are so positive. There's a level of useful positivity to tap into, and people still succeed and people still make things happen, but the frustrations are constant.
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting that it focused on energy, because we just talked about the importance of having energy and the 600 million people who don't have any. And here is somebody who has access to energy, electricity, and still is frustrated because it's not readily available.
Yeah, I mean, there are some very deep structural issues around energy policy in the country. And I think until the government fixes the whole energy infrastructure, the laws, the way everything can be charged for, Nigeria is seriously being held back because for a small business, the cost of electricity is huge. When I walk outside the back gate of our school, there's a whole load of businesses starting because we have security lights on the wall, and there are kids playing, there are people doing little businesses out there. And in one way, it's horrible because that shouldn't have to be. But on the other side of it, it's back to that resilience. People find a way to make it work. but it also feels like a lot of this is subsistence.
Yes.
People are doing things to survive. And I was thinking about what Eric was saying as well. And solar's a great idea. But the problem for so many people is if you get power, you want to maybe boil some water, you want to charge your phone. There are so many other things you have to do before you even worry about developing digital skills. Energy is a huge, huge challenge, holding so many things back.
I agree with you. I'm curious, how does Bature, what's the story of how Bature survives this? What's Bature's story? Share the story.
I'd love to say thriving, but surviving is more accurate. We had all the same problems in a startup. What I really loved about the movie was you could probably sit and have a beer over an hour and you wouldn't get all that backstory of how you started the business from university, COVID, but you managed to crystallize that into a 3-minute or 4-minute video. And I think that's a great way to tell the story. It makes me think I should probably do the same. But yeah, we started, it's probably not, our business was originally subsidized by our neighbors, if I was to put it in a way. We started brewing in my BQ using our communal generator without much of our neighbors knowing that we're actually brewing in the BQ. So we were subsidized by some communal effort. But then from the start, we knew that we had to invest some hard cash in infrastructure. And that's a really big difference from what you'd see even in South Africa or even some neighboring countries here. Biggest startup costs are not how to make beer, it's not staff, it's not skills, it's not expertise. They can be found. It's buying a generator, digging a borehole, paying 2 years rent up front. Those are huge costs which you wouldn't have to bear in other countries, which actually I think does down entrepreneurial opportunities in Nigeria. So overcoming that meant that we had to very quickly bring in investment. And we knew that we'd put our personal funds, family and friends funds together to start. And that was how we were able to overcome some of these initial startup challenges.
I like the way that you glossed over. I happen to know, he's my in-law, so full disclosure. But I happen to know the story about when you started and the beer exploded. You want to tell them?
Yeah, that happened quite a few times in the initial phases. So firstly, in our BQ, beer, what happens during beer's fermentation and what happens is yeast converts sugar into alcohol. So most beers, when you first brew, is like a Maltina, Malta Guinness, then you add the yeast and that converts it to alcohol. And it also creates carbonation. And what was happening, it was almost within the bottle, there was too much carbonation and the bottle was ready to explode because it was so gassy. The problem is the bottle size was actually the size of one of those tanks. So when it exploded, it was like a fountain of stout, a fountain of black gold, completely destroyed my apartment and my BQ. All the walls were brown and black from all the beer, and that's when we realized this can't be a hobby anymore. We need to turn this into a business and move elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We share stories, not just because of the content that it produces, but to show you how things start. So you're looking at Bature today and saying, oh, it's beautiful, I like it, da-da-da. But what is the story behind it? What is the content? What did he go through to get this where it is? And you're going to find out when Angela speaks about Charterhouse that it's very different about starting Charterhouse in Lagos because you had something else that you could look to. So I'm going to share this mic with you. Is that all right?
So good afternoon, everybody. So storytelling. Yes. I think the story of how Charterhouse Lagos came about is quite different to other schools. People assume we are a franchise and that somebody in the UK thought it was a really good idea to drop a British school into Lagos. That's not what happened. John may well correct me, but I will summarize the story somewhat. And it started with a dinner and a conversation, which is often the way. That dinner led to an introduction. John was at the dinner. That led to an introduction of somebody that had got a really good idea. They were already here in Lagos. They were already made a big investment. They'd been here for 20 years. They ran a successful business not connected to education, but they saw a need. Their business, Lagos had been kind to them, Nigeria had been kind to them. They'd made a very, very successful business. He was at the point in his life where he wanted to put something back. He was gently doing it anonymously around the edges, donating things to schools. It was football programs, it was milk, it was drinks, it wasn't beer. Out of that came a purchase of a giant plot of land on a Gombo Road, which at the time was absolutely in the middle of nowhere. Even when I arrived 3 years ago, it was still really in the middle of nowhere. Now it's a terrible road, but with a huge amount of development on it. If you wind forward, the conversation came about. What I really, really want to do and what my legacy is, and this is this guy speaking, is to build the very, very, very best school in West Africa. And I want it to be here in Lagos. So he started with the cash, talked to John about being the person that actually made this real. And that's how it all started. At the time, John was working in Shanghai at a school, well, not at a school, responsible for a number of schools in Shanghai. One of those schools I worked in. And that's how come I'm here. So I think one of the stories is actually trust in people and trust in what you believe in. That then flowed through because more people trusted in what we were doing. More people trusted in John, trusted in me, and we gathered a team to be able to build this school. We then went out and decided that we needed a partner. So these were then conversations with British schools saying, do you believe in what we believe in? Do you understand what we want to do? Do you follow our culture? And we found a match for us here in Lagos rather than the other way around. That is an abridged version. I think, did I miss anything, John? Yeah, plenty, I'm sure. Yeah. That is an abridged version, but the story is a reverse story for many schools.
Certainly is a reverse story, but it reminds us the importance of networking.
People.
People.
All about the people.
It's all about people.
Yeah.
It's the reason why we're all here having a conversation. And I hope that as you're sitting at your tables, you're having conversations and connecting with people that you've never met before because you don't know where it's going to go. And I encourage you when we have the next break, that you take the time to connect with those on your table and go to other tables and make some connections. The power of connections is unpredictable. And at the end of the day, you want to be able to tell a story, just like you're hearing today. Sarah is online, and Sarah, we would love to know Sarah's story is really unique, and I hope you don't mind sharing your story with us because again, the goal here is to shift people's perspective so they can make a commitment to whatever it is that they're passionate about. Sarah?
Thank you very much, Dr. Ama. So I'm very happy to be here. I miss Nigeria. I'll be there very soon on the 28th of September. To celebrate our 20th anniversary of the Society of the Performing Arts Nigeria. 19th of October will be our gala. And with the Queen as the story. So everything starts with a story, isn't it? And today I'm just very happy to sit with you and tell you that where you are now at this moment is very critical for your future and your decision making and for the continent that you represent. As you know, I'm born in Burkina Faso, and I never thought that going all over the world would bring me back to Africa. And today, till now, I just had a recent conversation at the World Bank regarding gathering communities with stories like-minded people that are in Africa to see how we can alleviate the job development in the next 5 years, because the youngest population in the world will be Africa. So from a story in my Bible study that started in 2003, today I'm talking to the World Bank. That is the perspective I'd like you to think of. You think outside the box. So basically, I started everything with a God-given vision from my ladies' Bible study. Today is still running on Thursdays. And it's an incredible moment where you gather with people and somebody tells you dance for God. How do you explain that Dance for God will lead you to the World Bank? This is very interesting too. So I'm just sharing that when you are listening and you are hearing and you are communicating with people, something stirs in your heart. And I'm not here to talk so much about my story, but what my story has led to do. My story has led to build lives that would have an impact, a God given purpose. And I was able to find in me a sort of trigger that allowed me to think outside the box and allowed me to teach not only dance, music, drama, aerial, theater with Cred International, but also allow people to think for themselves where they want to make a difference. Your story has to be linked with people that are different. Your story has to have a story of, unfortunately, sometimes a tragedy like mine. On Christmas Day, I buried 7 members of my family because my uncle and my aunt left candle on the Christmas tree, and within 24 hours, 5 members, my mother, my brother, his sister, his wife, sorry, not his sister, because that would have been my sister, my brother, his wife, the father-in-law of my brother and my cousin traveled to the funeral, and they took the wrong plane, and the plane crashed on Christmas Day, and everything happened on Christmas. So sometimes our story are linked to tragedy. And today we are mourning somebody who was a great speaker, a great debater. His name was Charlie Kirk, and he believed in Jesus Christ. So when we believe in something, whether or not we have different religion or background, I am a follower of Jesus Christ, we have something that stirs in our heart. We have something that stirs in our brain. We have something that links us to people and God ordained divine favor so we can build our lives to help others and to serve others. And this is where I am today, 20 years later, celebrating SPAN. And with Dr. Amma, hoping that all of us can trigger. And I hope that all of us who are creating brilliant ideas for Africa and development of jobs, we can all come together at the table with the World Bank and create more jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. It takes courage to tell the story, but the story hopefully moves those who are sitting at the edge, not sure if they should do something. The story is the content. The action that follows the story is what helps you to make the right decision. Will everybody agree with that? Yeah. So I want to turn our attention to branding. And we've got a branding expert over here. And branding or brand visibility is what helps a business sort of be at the forefront where everyone looks to it as the example of what is expected. All of the businesses that are represented here have a brand. They've created a brand. They're built on a brand, and that brand is their visibility. And it's that brand that calls people forth to pay attention to what you are actually presenting. What would you say is the most important thing in creating a brand, Seun?
Thank you very much, Dr. Amar, for that question. The most important thing, I'd say, is the perception, because that's sort of the crux of branding in the first place. It's creating a perception in the minds of your consumers. In that sense, I like to think of it this way, in the sense that everybody sitting here, in fact, everybody in the whole world, no single one of us has seen ourselves. Like, you can't physically remove your eyes and look at yourself. The only way we've perceived ourselves is through reflections. You look in the mirror and you then see yourself. It's the same thing for our identities. We know who we are because of an aggregate of the things that we're told that we are by other people. And that's why branding is important, because it's an aggregate of what other people think about what business you're running, what organization you're pushing, or what initiative that you've got in the first place. And the beauty about branding is sort of architecting that perception that people have, being the first in line and choosing what they say about you rather than waiting for them to reach those conclusions about you in the first place. I mean, in this instance, I
I think the first perception that anybody here would have of me is that I probably have something to do with these cameras going up and down all day. I know, and it sort of is interesting because on a regular day, you'd probably not find me doing any of these things. I know you probably find me behind the computer in our office and trying to design something or create something for the next perception that the next business out there is going to have. And also, like, it's very important curating these perfect perceptions. And I'll give you an instance. There's a reason that we do not call, or we didn't call the brand Konga, the Konga brand. There's a reason we didn't call them Konga. Because the average Nigerian would probably have wanted to call them Konga, because Konga is like colloquial in Yoruba to mean like a barrel. You know, but because they engineered it from the start, and in every of their messaging, oh, we're the Konga brand. We sell stuff, we buy stuff, and we're, you know, a public marketplace. Because of that engineering, we call them Konga. Because of that engineering, we call GT Bank, GT Bank. Because of the engineering, we call AIT, AIT, and not IT or something. We call it UNDP, we call it the UN, not on, in that instance, because they engineered the way we perceive them, the way we interact with them. And it's what I think is the most important thing about, you know, creating a brand in the first place.
So, branding. Here we are talking about brand visibility. Everyone here has a brand that's recognized. Bature, interestingly, are you recognized as a beer brand? Or is it about entertainment and community?
Okay. Quite interesting when you were talking about what does AI know about me, yes. Or someone mentioned that, maybe it was Akintunde, but someone was talking about what does AI know about me today. So I just searched on ChatGPT, tell me about emerging trends in the beer market in Nigeria. And we are mentioned almost immediately as the fastest growing craft beer segment, new player. So certainly it's even out there in the ether that people know about us, which is great. And we are first and foremost about creating experiences. And I've always believed, you know, I've always loved beer, and I've always thought that it's great to be in a bar or a pub and meet people and listen to music and have that experience. But this brand was founded on the fact that Nigeria is full of creativity, whether that's business creativity, design, fashion, or music. And we thought if we could take that creativity and mix it with all of the fresh fruits, flavors, spices that were all around us, not only could we make the best beer in Nigeria, but make one of the best beers in the world and get West Africa on the map for having a new trend and a new style. So number one thing for us is to not only create the best beer in Nigeria, but put Nigeria on the map for having some of the best beers in the world. So that was the goal. But to mention, for the last 6 years, this is about storytelling versus brand, and this is something I do have a challenge with, to get the message out there. But our Black Gold Stout, which is the one on the wall there, for 6 consecutive years, it's won the best stout in Africa in Cape Town when it's been tested, every year for the last 6 years. Now, how do we tell that story and amplify it? Because the truth about that beer is it's all coffee from Taraba, it's made with sorghum, it's made right here in Lagos. It is a Nigerian fresh, flavorful beer made by a Nigerian company and our team. So for us, like, that branding into storytelling is where we want to amplify and improve as well.
So we got branding as well as storytelling coming together to amplify businesses. Now I want to go to you, Charterhouse, and I'm coming back to you, Sarah, very shortly. Charterhouse. Here's the interesting thing. You've got a name that is known globally and has been around for centuries.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no.
Tell the story.
I think English public school names are... Everyone knows Eton, everyone knows Harrow.
Yes.
Beyond that, actually very, very few people know. So my youngest daughter goes to a school in London called Allains. It's one of the top 10 in terms of academic results every year. and yet you go outside London or even South London, no one's heard of it. So, in a sense, our brand is quite elite, quite niche, but that also works because the product we're selling is to a very niche market. Because our reality is 90, I don't know what percent of Nigerians can't afford our school fees. That's the reality we work with. And so those that can generally will have heard of us. Many of them are actually now coming back. Reverse Japa is big for us at Charterhouse. London accents are big for us at Charterhouse. Don't always like them. But we hear a lot of them around the school. So if you go out into the street, many people will not have heard of us. But for our segment of the market, yeah, we are very well known. We're causing waves. We're redefining what school can look like in Nigeria. We've come in and said, you know, I keep saying to my people, okay is not okay. Our first value is excellence. If it isn't good enough, I have big shoes that deliver a big boot, or it's more usually a big mouth. But it's about demanding excellence from everyone and not listening to people say, oh, you can't do that in Nigeria. You'll never finish on time. We've not done that before. You know, and it's just rubbish. Nigerians can produce whatever you expect them to produce. If your expectations are so low that you're okay with mediocre, well, that's what you'll get and that's what you will deserve. We have loads of young Nigerians who are just ready to do amazing, are ready to fly if they're given the opportunity, if they're given the direction, and if they're shown what good looks like. And so many businesses here are let down because they don't understand good or excellent. And it's by demanding standards constantly that I think we achieve what we achieve.
Well, standards, excellence, achievements, possibility, talents.
For me, it keeps saying, you know, Lagos is a center of excellence, apart from the roads maybe. But you can achieve anything in Lagos. And yes, there are huge challenges. But, you know, come and look at our building. Come and look at the work we're doing in classrooms. And that just puts all this stuff, it just pushes it all away. Because you can do it. You look at where we're sitting today.
Yeah.
How many people will tell you you can't brew craft beer in Nigeria? Because. But the answer is you can, if you're prepared to put in the time, the effort, the money. But those business opportunities are there because it does come back to you.
Yeah. So I thank you so much. And you've actually brought up the question I was going to ask Sarah. Sarah, how do you keep your message fresh? How do you keep it at the forefront all the time?
When I received testimony from all the graduates of SPAN, interesting that we were discussing about the city of excellence or the center of excellence. What makes a Nigerian excellent is his heart and his mind. The city can have all the peculiar things that does not allow us to thrive, but the mind of the Nigerian is brilliant. And what I've learned is to embrace that. And most of the people that have created an immersive experience in SPAN in terms of creative education, most of them have grabbed everything, have founded their own dance studio, are even competing with me. They have founded their own school, they have founded their own movement, their own non-profit. And I find this incredible because they're actually not only reproducing, they are excelling in what I've started. And I think this is what the legacy should be, is how do you create an immersive experience in your storytelling, in the vision that you've been given, and the person who is after you actually excel and can teach you something. And I think this is what I talk about, the spirit of excellence.
That's interesting. I actually like that because the joy you have is in seeing your former students excel and also contributing positively to the community. So that amplifies your impact. It's all about impact at the end of the day. That's what comes through to me. What do you say, Angela? Impact?
I do. I loved what Sarah said, actually. Because although we're at different ends of the educational spectrum, we're all trying to do the same thing. So actually what we want to have is a fantastic impact. We want to equip these young people to go out into the world, particularly into the world in Nigeria, and make a difference. It's all about legacy, and I think Sarah's talking about legacy as well. Yes. It's not what we're doing for us here and now. It's not about the building. It's not about the people that are sat on this sofa. It's actually about the next generation and the generation and after, and what can they do? What can we equip them to do? What can we enable them to do? And I love Sarah's story because that's our story too. We want to see that next generation and that next generation achieving amazing things.
Yeah, I do. I really, it struck a chord. I would like to do something interesting. Is there anyone in the audience who has a story and can tell a 1-minute story, and we can give them some encouragement or feedback to move them forward so that they can actually get on to creating a brand that will be impactful? There's got to be somebody in this audience. You've got an idea and you want to tell the story in 1 minute, because that's the best way to tell a story, because otherwise you're rambling. And we can encourage you and support you in putting it into action so you can have impact.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Tyrone is my name, Africa Bridge Initiative. So I have an SDG organization, NGO called Africa Bridge Initiative. We started in 2017. So working with the youth in terms of youth development, talking about drug abuse, advocacy, working with universities and secondary schools, and also looking at the challenges of some youth in terms of having challenges from their family. And the background I had is that I have a mom, I don't have a dad. So that background, so that is where I'm coming from. So giving that same kind of capacity to those who have those kind of background and challenges for them to be able to pick up. And that has been a very huge gap in the country because it's where I'm coming from. So it's very easy for me to relate with people who have maybe violence, gender-based violence, or those who are into drugs just because the family separated and they can't afford to go to school, drop out of school, and because of that, they have to look for, just survive anyhow. So that's what we do in our NGO, bringing them together and telling them that you can do this. If you have this, we can help you get into some organization, maybe into the government or into sort of NGOs for you to be able to have your education and for you to be able to survive and get to the next line in terms of your vision and capacity. And we've been having a huge gap. And also, we've been closing the gap like 13-14% annually. But I believe with the support, we can do more to have more impact. Just because I have the story and I'm excelling, so they can do it. That is the spirit.
Thank you. So your story is about your personal experience. Because you were raised by a single parent.
Absolutely.
And your desire to help others who are raised by single parents or in single parent families.
Yes, ma'am.
And your goal is, so what's the goal of the organization? One single goal. One. Capacity for work or education?
For education.
Okay, all right. How do you create a brand that's unique? What separates you from the other NGOs?
Okay, so
one thing that separates you. Let me give you an example. Live Abundantly, I founded it. The one thing that separates me from others is I've got this platform, Thinking Reimagined, and you're here. It separates it immediately. So what's going to separate you from the other NGOs? One thing. He needs to know so he can help you recreate your design.
Thank you, ma'am. We're structured and we have collaboration with different other organizations.
Okay, so look at it this way. I'm going to jump in. There is this song by Pim Stones, the last one I made, and there's something very important that was said in that song that is somewhat controversial. He said, if it's not for one, then it's not for all. So it only should be for one. And I think what he was talking about, particularly in that song, was focusing your efforts rather than on the crowd, but on particular individuals and giving them capacity. Because it could have come from the point of view that, we're training particular individuals per time, and we're giving them skills to help them, better themselves in the future. But like these skills, most often than not, these trainings would, have, on an average, have like 100, 200 individuals. And it really doesn't go anywhere beyond that one class. But then you pick one person and you put them through school for 5 years. You monitor the growth. You help them through after-school placements in organizations. You are making a more measurable impact on the society in general. And I think it's beautiful. It actually is very beautiful what you're doing. And I think there is a lot of value and grace in it. And yes, cheers.
That's your new connection. That is your new connection, and that's somebody you should brainstorm with to move you forward. You're very welcome.
Okay, so in 2024, that's last year, a friend and I got talking. I called him, I told him a story of a young, vibrant man who all of a sudden just came down with stroke. And he told me of something that happened similarly. And we just said, why don't we get a few friends, few men, to talk about their whatever thing is bothering them. As a man, personally, I know I don't get to share everything. And this was in October of last year. And by November, my friend and I called a few friends, and we sat down eating suya and drinking, and we noticed...
Were you drinking Bature beer?
No, unfortunately. The more we ate, the more things came out. And there were men who had serious issues, and someone had to just call the other person, like personally, and you know what? I would sort you out on this. I think it was work-related, and he was like, you know what? I have this thing that I just turned down. I will tell them you're from me so that it sorts you out on this level. I can't give you the fish. At least let me show you where to fish. And it really changed. In fact, he called me. I was like, it's a lie. This thing is not happening to me. Everything was going wrong. There's so much we men do not talk about. We do not talk about so many things. And this is just my story. And that's how I started Safe Space. As for branding, the Mental is a t-shirt brand that funds Safe Space.
So, thank you very much. What he's brought up is very interesting, and kudos to you. I happen to know him. He's also a great pilot, so I'm going to throw you out there so people know. Here's the thing that you shared. It's about creating a safe space for men to be themselves, which is not very often available elsewhere in the world, but let alone in Nigeria.
One of the things that is amazing is that we have AI software and tools. And sometimes when you're trying to put your word together, you just have to say to this artificial intelligence software, this is what I'd like to see achieve. This is the title of my heart toward my purpose. Please give me ideas. And suddenly, to speed up your process and your storytelling, AI will give you all the options, and then you can pick. So at the end of the day, it's that conversation with amazing researchers that has been done all over the world. I'm going to just brief you on something. I met back in a United Nations session in July a young man who is an actor who left the acting world, and he was growing very fast. He could have like gone for Oscars and everything, to develop a software tool, a AI software tool, so that young people know the truth between news and fake news. And he developed a whole course on how to identify what's news and what's fake news for the young people. And when he told me about that, I was amazed. I said, why have you not stayed in the film world? He says, I wanted to make a difference. So some of your members, now that we are in the talk tank, and in our concert here today, you have an idea that's going to make a difference. So God is going to provide you the favor. So when you go into that AI tool and you just say, I want a title, I want a brand, I want this, I want that, He's going to pull it out for you, because you're going to orchestrate the favor for it to happen. So this is my take on what I've heard today.
Thank you, Sarah. Go ahead, Adobe.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adobe, and I want to preface by saying I am not a CEO of any NGO. This is what I'm interested in, and it's just preliminary work. It's something that I'm still working on. So a little bit about my background. I grew up in the US. Both my parents are Nigerian. And I was constantly told that, oh, you need to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, not necessarily anything outside of that. So I grew up with a very limited mindset in terms of what it's like to have a career outside of those things. So coming to Nigeria and meeting people like Ms. Sarah and Dr. Ama, I learned that actually you can do a lot more than just a very narrowed mindset. And what you don't know, you can't do. So what I'm really interested in is trying to have mentorship programs with people both in the diaspora and here in Nigeria, with women like those women on the stages, so that women are encouraged to do other things instead of just being so limited. One thing I really like about my time being here in Nigeria is that you can be very creative. You can do a bunch of different things. You don't have to always be limited. And I feel like sometimes what happens to a lot of Nigerians in the diaspora, we're very limited on what we can do and who we can become. So what I kind of wanted to do, and still very preliminary, I haven't really actually fleshed out what I actually wanted to do, but I really do want to have a mentorship program so that people can be able to see hey, I don't have to just be niched to this area. I can be able to do a bunch of different things that I would like to do. And I just need someone who looks like me, who is in this country, to show me that actually, no, I don't have to do what I was limited on my beliefs and what I want to do. So that's basically it. Just a really short story.
Well, thank you for sharing that story, Adaobi. And here's what we're going to ask of you, if I have the permission of everyone here. What would you like to achieve by this time next week? Because if you can set yourself one single goal to achieving what your vision is, then your story begins to take shape and you're taking action towards it. So what would you like to achieve within the next week? One singular thing.
So being able to speak about it, because I was really shy, I didn't want to talk about it at all. I think the last two people gave me some courage to actually speak up.
Good.
So I think what I want to do in the next week is probably come up with a name and maybe a logo. So it tells me I have something to look at and say, okay, I have to push myself to keep going, to make connections with people, talk to people, and try to build and flesh this idea out. So I think that's where I could start. Or I could do research, because I know I need to do research, see what's already out in the market, and try to maybe work with them and have an idea of what that looks like.
That's fantastic. Well, you've set yourself a goal.
Yeah.
So that your content becomes a real story and has meat to it, and you're taking action towards actualizing it, so that you can have the impact that you've experienced from seeing these women, because you refer to the women, not everyone, so that's something there about women for you as well. I'm being given the signal that our time has run out, but before we go, I would like to ask each person here with me if there is a message that you would like to pass on that could be impactful to someone else. So I'll start with you, Kevin.
Okay. Thank you, and for recognizing our time. I'd rather feed back to the audience. So I know you mentioned a logo creation and setting a goal for next week. I think everyone in the panel here would agree, like setting a mission and a vision is really important for whatever organization, whether it's private or public sector. And I think if you focus in on what your vision is, that can really guide everything else to come into plan. Our vision is to have a perfectly poured craft beer at every location, every time, all the time. Really simple, but as long as all my team understand that's what we're doing, we drive towards that. For the men's safe space, just quickly, beer's a social glue. It brings people together, no matter your football team, your tribe, where you're from, your religion. Everyone can get round a beer, and I really think that this idea of man safe spaces is important. So I'd like to just offer, whenever you feel the need that you want to meet up in VI, use our space. We'll give the beer for free. We'll give you some small chops for at least bringing your guys together. And if we can be of any help, then let us know. It'd be good to get your number after this. I think I'll leave it there, other than saying thanks everyone for coming out. And Dr. Amma, you always make a great feeling in a room, so I really appreciate you as well.
You're very kind, my in-law.
Mine is very short, and I'm looking at the people that actually spoke, and it's be brave. So well done, be brave, reach out. You'd be surprised how many people that are CEOs, COOs, these people that you say you're not, that will help you if you ask them, actually. So just take that deep breath and ask for help. Okay, that's my message. Be brave, ask for help.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I'd say is, what I've noticed, or what I realized from everything we've said thus far, is that starting something in Nigeria alone already sets you up for failure. Like, you're already set up for failure. And it's why the average Nigerian in business, in whatever we're doing, is incredibly resilient. So much so that you step out of Nigeria and there's a culture shock with how much effort you need to put into things for it to work. Because you see that you've put in way too much effort in Nigeria. You've generated your own electricity. You've done everything that should ordinarily be bare minimum by yourself. And so it means that everybody sitting here already has that culture of resilience. And it means you already have something in the line of being successful. And from my story, I mean, we've been 12 years thus far. There are a few of us scattered around. There have been 8 years in Tactica, 9 years, 6 years, thereabouts. What we can say for a fact is that we've survived, and we're still surviving, and we will continue to thrive. And if we can do it for 12 years, that's over a decade. That's a lot of time. Oh my goodness. I just had that realization. So that's been it. If I had a kid when I started, he'd be 12 years old. So if we can be this resilient for this long a period of time, then you can do anything, honestly. Anything is possible.
So I'll say two things. The first is just don't give up. It is tough. It is hard. Just don't give up. The second one is I would just think about communication. And I don't mean, well, this is a critical response to what people have said. 1 minute. Nobody was able to give their idea in 1 minute. And honestly, I'm one of those people that Angela's talked about who's ready to help people. But if you can't sell your idea to me in 30 seconds, honestly, I've lost interest. So have a think about an elevator pitch where you can tell me what you're looking for, what you want to do in 30 seconds, not 2 minutes, not 5 minutes, not 10 minutes. Give it me in 30 seconds. Otherwise, even though I'm not Gen Z, I'm bored. Because everyone is busy, we want to know, and if it's a 5-minute talk, by the end of it, I've forgotten what it was about, because I'm also thinking someone's on this phone, and this phone, if I'm really important, I have 3 phones. There's too much going on. Get your pitch down to 30 seconds, and you'll probably find people go away remembering rather than thinking, oh, that was a good story. But what it was, I can't recall.
Excellent advice. And we've got Sarah. Oh, no. Barry, would you like to say something before Sarah? A question. Sarah, one moment.
I think you'll start with resilience, because that word keeps popping up. So my question, I think John said something about the average Nigerian being very resilient. People who are working off, leeching off your security lights and things, and just keep going on. And Seun as well said in your former the print shop, you went on and you persevered. Angela, I'm not sure your story is the same when it comes to Charterhouse. I'm not sure it's resilience that you used, but you had a passion for it and you stuck your way through. And the same thing with Kevin as well. So I'm just thinking, and of course with Sarah. So where do you draw the line with perseverance? Do you come to a hard realization this is not working, for instance, in your case, right? Because it's one thing to be comfortable, saying I'm being resilient and going on and on and on, when obviously this is not going the right direction. How do you know it's time to have a rethink, right? Then what are the rules of things like mediocrity? Is that an excuse for perseverance, for just going on and on and on? And like John aptly said, communication. When we don't even understand what we're doing, they will now develop this herd mentality. We're doing what everybody's doing and saying we're resilient. So I think at times we have to sit down, pause, and think, is this for me? Do I understand what I'm doing? Where am I going with this? So if that's true resilience, then by all means, right? So I want to ask Kevin, if he didn't have a love for beer, how long would you have pushed this passion? Yeah? Please, thank you.
Can I just jump in first, Dr. Obere? And I think resilience, absolutely, but actually, if you look at all the biggest brands in the world and all the most famous and very successful entrepreneurs, it wasn't their first business or their second or their third or their fourth. So actually, one of the things about being brave is to actually being able to stop and walk away and actually do a 360 and try something else. Don't cling on to something that isn't working. Don't make it so personal that you can't change.
Resilience, yeah, it's a great word. And just to play off the last comment, I think everyone here would know Nintendo, or most people would know Nintendo. Nintendo is, I think, almost 300 years old as a company, but it's very different now from when it started. It started by making playing cards, physical playing cards. Then it went to plastic toys, and it went into digital entertainment systems. So you have to adapt and evolve, and your vision can remain the same, but how you get there changes. Or you might have a certain goal, but you want to now change how you get there. So I think that's another way to do it. Most famous quote we use here all the time in the brewery is, "We never stop." And I don't know when we will ever stop. I hope we will never stop, but that's the attitude you have to come with if you're going to be successful as you keep going.
Can I chip in something real quick before? So when you were talking, it was very, very real for me. Like it was like my life flashing before my eyes. And it sort of also was reflective in the short film that you saw. You'd notice that there was a part in the short film that everything went black and white. And that was when I said I gave up. Because I actually did give up. Between 2020 to 2021, there was no Tactica. We gave up. We saw that things weren't working. We were running a generator every day, 24/7, 5 days a week. It was not working, and we stopped. But then, for what you said, the passion lived. I saw that because I was studying law at the time, and I was doing really well at it. And the obvious thing then was, okay, focus on law. And I did focus on law, but I always found myself going back to design, to filmmaking, and it then occurred to me that, okay, maybe the idea is not stopping, but doing things in a different way. And that's why we said we got these solar panels. We need electricity 24/7. how do we do this? It was a lot of money. It took a whole lot because we spent millions trying to, get this on the ground. But we survived. It took a whole year before we started operations again. I mean, like, there are individuals there nodding their heads and being like, yeah, we actually did suffer through it. But yes, it's balancing resilience with knowing when to stop what is not working.
So I'm going to give you a real life story. Okay, so I was basically taken away from Nigeria. And I knew in the last 6 months that there was something happening to me last 1 year, but I needed to understand. And it was faith who drove me to that point. So that was my first thing. So there was a sort of nudge in my spirit saying that I'm pivoting and something is happening and I need to put people in place to do certain things for me while I'm gone. So it was a nudge in my spirit. And then I started researching. I started going back to my Bible. I started understanding, where is it? And then I kept on hearing, raise the bar, your light is on. Raise the bar, your light is on. So I had to study what does it mean to raise my own bar. So even if I had faith, was the backbone of my drive, I had to understand in the context of my space and create a new space for myself to know where I was heading. So what I did was having non-stop conversation with people and giving away my secrets. I never stopped giving away my secrets. I said, unlike other people who said that they want to build their own property, they want to build their own thing, I said my imagination and my creativity was everybody to share. And so from there, I met people of like mind, and then I accelerated. So I need to push something that is in my spirit that nudges me to get to the next level. And I need to be with like-minded people to tell them my secret so I can move to the next level. And the more I talk, the more I ordain divine favor in my life so change can happen. And I can escalate, and I can scale. Scaling means you share your secret, you share who you are, and you get aligned with people like-minded to get the job done. Because at the end of the day, for me, it's to get the job done.